Greetings and salutations, young true believers. I hope you guys are staying healthy in the midst of yet another day of this wretched plague. Things will get better, but we have to be patient. At any rate, so today, what are we talking about? We're talking about Linda Nochlin's Why Are There No Great Women Artists, right? And the title of this article is obviously very provocative, right? And it immediately brings the objection. Well, look, I can think of some great women artists. I can rattle off of several: Georgia O'Keeffe, Frida Kahlo, uh, uh, Judith Gentileschi, Italian name, difficult. um, and there are others, right? But Nochlin points out that when you compare the ratio of women artists to male artists, the number is decidedly less, right? It's just completely disproportionate, right? And this raises an obvious question. Okay, well, why would this be the case? And historically, as Nochlin points out, men have answered this question with a resounding, well, um, women just don't have the what it takes to be great artists, right? And so she talks about this. This is one second here. I got it bookmarked. This is page 49 of 4950 of the textbook. And the argument goes something like this. If women had the golden nugget, that's her term for genius, artistic genius, the little golden nugget, right? So if women had the golden nugget of artistic genius, then it would reveal itself. But it has never revealed itself. Therefore, women do not have the golden nugget of artistic genius. And just before that, she starts talking about several examples of male artists who had to overcome difficulties, right, and all the trials and travails that they worked through in order to become legendary artists, right? So, as she notes, I'm going to quote directly here. What is stressed in all these stories is the apparently miraculous, non-determined, and asocial nature of artistic achievement. This gratuitous, semi-religious conception of the artist's role was elevated. What is stressed in all these stories is the apparently miraculous, non-determined, and asocial nature of artistic achievement. This gratuitous, semi-religious conception of the artist's role was elevated into a true hagiography. A hagiography is a biography of a saint, for those of you who might not have grown up Catholic, in the 19th century, when both art historians, critics, and not least some of the artists themselves tended to erect the making of art into a substitute religion, the last bulwark of higher values in a materialistic world. And this is a very Nietzsche talks quite a bit about this. Art serving as a replacement for values that have been lost due to the secularization of society. She goes on. The artist in the 19th century saint's legend struggles onward against the most determined parental and social opposition, suffering the slings and arrows of social opprobrium, that is to say hatred, like any Christian martyr, and ultimately succeeds against all odds, generally, alas, after his death, because from deep within himself radiates that mysterious holy effulgence, genius. Here we have the mad Van Gogh, spinning out wildflowers or sunflowers despite epileptic seizures and near starvation, or perhaps because of them. Cezanne, braving parental rejection and public scorn in order to revolutionize painting. Gauguin, one second here. Throwing away respectability and financial security with a single existential gesture to pursue his calling in the tropics, unrecognized by crass Philistines on the home front, or to Toulouse-Lautrec, dwarfed, crippled, and alcoholic, sacrificing his aristocratic birthright in favor of the squalid surroundings that provided him with inspiration. So, this is the very, very common mantra, very common, oft-repeated story Male artists, look what they had to overcome. Again, uh, Van Gogh was epileptic, and Lautrec, Toulouse-Lautrec, he gave up his aristocratic bearing, his aristocratic heritage, to become a poor, starving artist, right? Uh, Men do this. Why couldn't women do this? Blah blah blah. Well, this is where Nochlin begins to make her analysis or argument, and she notes, look, uh, what is never talked about in these standard histories of art is the fact that even if one has artistic inclination, right? No one was born knowing how to paint. No one was born knowing what it is to uh, produce a stunningly beautiful painting. Even if you have the talent, right? You still need the direction, right? And male artists have historically had the good fortune to have the leisure time and a patron and, moreover, a mentor who showed them the ropes. Historically, these opportunities were not available to women. And Nochlin wants to offer up some analogies here, right? Why are there no great Jamaican bobsledders? Or why aren't there any great Inuit, that is to say, Eskimo baseball players? You can go down the line, right? Well, long and short of it is that people haven't had the opportunity. So the question arises, have women had the opportunity to express their artistic genius? And the short answer is no. By and large, until comparatively recently, it just was not the case. Women were bound and shackled by the expectations of domestic life and the duties of child rearing. There was no opportunity to do this, to develop your artistic genius, again, except in very rare cases. Now that playing field has been leveled somewhat, and again, this leveling, this grand leveling, so to speak, in terms of economic power, right? Women are beginning to get the upper hand here. Women are beginning to gain more economic power than men. With this shift, you'll see more of this. More art will be produced by women, right? And to really drive home the point, the last page of the article, page 51, Nochlin talks about another group that has not produced great art, right? And what is this great art? What is this other group besides women that hasn't produced much great art? Well, why have there been no great artists from the aristocracy? That is to say, the rich people, the upper class, the 1%, if you will, right? One could scarcely think, she writes, before the anti-traditional 19th century at least, of any artist who sprang from the ranks of any more elevated class than the upper bourgeoisie. Even in the 19th century, Degas came from the lower nobility, more like the haute bourgeoisie, in fact. And only Toulouse-Lautrec metamorphosed into the ranks of the marginal by accidental deformity, could be said to have come from the loftier reaches of the upper class, right? So why weren't there any great artists from the upper classes? She notes, page 51, could it be that the little golden nugget, genius, is as absent from the aristocratic makeup as from the feminine psyche? Or is it not rather the demands and expectations placed upon both aristocrats and women, the amount of time necessarily devoted to social functions, the very kinds of activities demanded, that simply made total devotion to professional art production out of the question and unthinkable, right? What's the upshot? Social, cultural factors play into a lot of anything like artistic production or access to education, right? With that grand leveling that we're talking about, that we're seeing in Western societies, where again, women are beginning to make more than men, and that demographic shift is going to continue for the next 50, 75 years, which means, when old Professor D is long gone and when you're in your old elder years, you'll see this wholeheartedly. You'll see it throughout your life, right? This change. And with this is going to come a grand shift, not just in the roles that women play, but in the roles that men play too, and correspondingly, new evaluations of what it is to be a man and a woman. Art, like any cultural endeavor that human beings engage in will also correspondingly change as a result of this. But to bring it all home, it's not the case that there haven't been many great women artists because women lack the talent. It's rather these historical, cultural, economic factors have played a role in suppressing their contributions.